are already at March. Saying good morning to you, top of the morning. I'm doing something new and something incredibly special and something I've been dying to start doing. And I have a special guest today. And he happens to be a friend of mine for over half my life, Chi-Town in the house. We are film buddies, and we will talk a little bit about how we met. But my dear friend, Rick Ramirez is in the house today. And we're going to be talking all things Jedi. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rick Ramirez.
Hello. That was cool.
Howdy, Rick. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now I know what everybody's using for their little software thing. With the little intro, I'm like, oh, that's what they're using. That's cool.
I'm still figuring it out. Thank you for walking me through all of this. We are going to bring the human back in humanity. Hey, it worked.
Yay, Triple H.
Triple H. Well, Rick, you reached out to me too because you were watching Truth Quest with Aaron Moriarty, and we've known each other forever, but some of the stories I was telling you were like, what? I had similar tales. Is that what happened?
Mm-hmm. Totally what happened. So I was watching the interview. It was an awesome interview. And the things that you were talking about, I was like, there was like a little bit of I was taken back, like a little shock. And then there was the other piece of it was like, I was like, holy shit, like we're totally connected. Can I swear on your little show?
Yes, please.
So I was like, man, we're totally connected in a different kind of way that I didn't know. And I'm like, I got to call this girl, talk to her. And I wanted to do this little interview thing because I'm doing my own little videos. I just put little workout videos and stuff like that. But
awesome.
A few years back, I started doing them with the idea that my daughter would be seeing them. We were talking about this. It's like a time capsule. So I want to have a time capsule for her. And I was like, the things that you were talking about kind of gave me ideas. And I'm like, let me see if this girl wants to like go down this road and explore. And I thought it'd be awesome.
Oh, hell yeah. And you said that you hadn't seen Carmen. Can we say her name? Yeah, Carmen. You haven't seen her in a while due to the pandemic, scamdemic.
Right. And it's been since November. I'm trying to think how many months. So like 2, 3, 4 months, something like that.
That's so difficult.
Yeah.
That's really difficult. I love the time capsule idea because we're blessed with such technology. Even though most technology is suppressed still, we have these tools that we can really put together stuff, little manuals for our little kids.
Well, the cool thing is it's not like an idea that I have. It started way back in like 2010, 2011. A friend of mine was big into technology, into like Twitter and all that kind of stuff. And he's the one that actually suggested that I start doing videos because we come from that like movie making background. And I was always behind the camera, and he's like, you got to get in front of the camera. And basically what he told me to do, what he suggested was like, do like a little video journal. Cool. And at the time he called it Rapid Human Transformation. And so that's what I would title my videos. And it was a little challenge. So it was supposed to be like 100 videos, 100 days kind of thing. I didn't shoot 100 videos. I never recorded that many, but it was an experience that I was like, this is kind of cool. Because at the time I was going through the divorce. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, I was embarrassed to do the videos because it's kind of like hard to be in front of the camera. But on the flip side, I was like, well, I'm putting together something that my daughter could see. And he even mentioned that. He's like, one of the reasons he was big into the whole Twitter thing was because he was like, we're all creating like a digital time capsule. I remember him like saying that. And so when I asked you to do this, I was like, that's basically what we're doing, or what I'm doing, is putting a time capsule together for my kid to see where her dad was at this moment in time. So
during these crazy days.
Yep.
Well, I'm super grateful you reached out. We stayed in touch this whole time, and we met around 97, 98. That was around. It was a feature film, Promise of You. Great team of peeps. We are those passionate indie filmmakers that you read about. I was just the best and the hardest days of my life, really. We took a long time to shoot that sucker. And then
you know why? It's because it was the whole technology was shifting at that moment. We were going from film to digital. And my buddy wanted to stay on film. I wanted to go to so that's part of the reason why.
It was so crazy. And then I'm the director writer, T. Hayes, he and I moved out here to California with Larry, who was Boom, and all the other things. Everybody had multiple hats. And you came out to visit us for a couple of weeks, and you guys were working on the editing and stuff. And that was really, and we always had our own connection because we're Scorpios. So to us, we were always like, it's a Scorpio thing. Like we always had our own swag.
The Scorpio thing and the Star Wars thing.
The Star Wars thing, hence Jedis. Yeah. We're our discussion today. We're going to try to break this up in 3 parts. And we're going to talk about our earliest years, the past, our present moments, and our future down the road in Jedi terms and with a Jedi mindset. So I'm kind of excited like that. Do you want to kind of dig in, or what else should we kind of tell the peeps? We've stayed in touch through social media and supporting, and you're super patriot man too.
I try to be
all up in the truthing and questioning the narrative, and you're a healer. You're health.
Try to be, yeah. I mean, I shouldn't say try to be. It's a part of my life, and I think in the context of wanting to do this little interview with you, like those things are gonna pop out. Why the whole Jedi thing? It's because, like I said, we kind of have that Star Wars thing going, and the cool thing with the Star Wars thing is it kind of bleeds into the mystical. And when you were doing the interview with Aaron. With Aaron, some of that mystical was coming out, and I was like, I didn't know Heidi was Jedi Master. So that's why I think some of that's going to come out in the interview, and that's why I wanted to do this interview.
It's been a fun thing our little thing to have through these years, because I remember a decade ago, maybe there was the Empire grill, and you tag me, like anything Star Wars, we tag each other. So we were always connecting. I made let me move my contact. Look, I figured out a banner.
There you go.
Interview Part 1, Baby Yoda years.
There we go. It cracks me up when you move your contact, because it's like Terminator. You're doing some Terminator shit there.
I had someone see one of my pictures once, and they went and zoomed into my eye, and they're like, there's a picture of the deaths or something they said. I go, you're reading into my stuff, but it also kind of creeped me out. And I'm like, I don't want people thinking I'm cloned. Well, what, in your words, how would you describe a Jedi in general? Just in case someone out there's under a rock hasn't heard.
Yeah, just in case somebody doesn't understand. So to me, the whole Jedi thing is the spirituality side of Star Wars, right? There's the warrior mindset, the spiritual, like the warrior monk kind of thing, like the Bruce Lee kind of thing. But what's cool with the whole Star Wars story is, they talked about things like the Force, and it was you can move objects around and that kind of stuff. And for me, there's the little kid inside of me wants to believe that we can still do that. We just, somewhere along the line, that power was taken away from us. And I think there's still people out there that have that on a different level. I've talked to people that are psychic, and they've told me stuff about me that freak me out, that nobody should know about. So I think those powers are still there, the whole Jedi thing. We're just not at that Star Wars level on this earth yet, maybe in the future.
Right. I think that was part of the slave planet agenda. We all are born with these powers, so let's fuck them up. Let's ruin the air and the water, and that's clearing now. I feel all the little Jedis out there are starting to remember who they are.
Yep.
That's
and so that's where that comes from. So it's like kind of a little mini theme.
Well, how far back in your life can you remember that you were like, okay, I'm a little special?
I don't know if I ever thought I was special. I thought I was different.
Okay.
And for me, like when we talked about this, I think when we were texting the other day, you're like, you had mentioned, maybe it was when we were on the phone, you had mentioned something about like 5 years old, and that's where you get like your
like
downloads or whatever.
6 and under, I just don't recall a lot.
Right.
So
for me, like the thing that I think about when I was younger was like deja vu, like having little deja vus, and I'm like, where's that coming from? Because for me, the deja vu felt like I was in the future, but now I'm here in the past or in the present, and I'm experiencing what I had experienced. Like that. That's how deja vu feels to me.
Okay.
And so when I was a kid, I used to have that all the time, and I'd be like, what is that? And it made me curious to know, like, where does that come from? And that's kind of what started the curiosity going. So I can't recall like how old I was.
Okay.
But when I started having deja vus like on the regular, I was like, something's different about me, and I don't know what it is.
Were your parents, did you talk to anybody about this stuff, or did you kind of kept it? Yeah.
Nope, kept it inside. The Scorpio thing. We hide. Hide.
I'm good.
No, I always kept it inside. I think I probably talked to a few friends about it when I was a kid, but nothing major. And that's why, for me, growing up, the Star Wars thing was like, I was attached to it because I was like, well, they're doing things that, like the Jedi or like Luke Skywalker, he or Obi-Wan is doing things that other people in that universe, like there's not a whole lot of people that do it. And, we think about the story in Star Wars, it was like the Jedi were all gone. So it was like, whoever has these little powers, you're kind of special, and you're supposed to be underground because the Empire is looking for all these, whatever leftover Jedi. And so it kind of felt like that. I'm like, does anybody else have like this is going, do you experience this? So I didn't like talk about it a lot, but that's kind of what I was like, something's going on. I don't know what it is.
Oh my gosh, that makes total sense. And plus with those, just like when you're saying with the Star Wars and the Empire looking for them, it's very similar. I mean, I kind of feel like that's why the military abductions kicked in and things like that. Like, who has the special DNA?
Yeah.
So we can bring it on down to our underground bases and things. And
that was the interesting part of the interview that you did with Aaron, because you were talking about some of that stuff when you lived in Door County. And when I started to hear that, I was like, what?
Similar experiences for you?
I don't, kind of. So like, I can't say 1000% that I was like abducted. I don't. If I was a kid, and when I was younger, if you had asked me that question, I'd be like, totally.
That's so cute.
Things happened when I got older that I got information that I was like, well, maybe it wasn't what I thought it was, kind of thing. Okay. And we can go into that in like when we get into the later years. But when I was a kid, I would have nightmares, dreams, like things like that. The Wicked Witch of the West from Oz freaked the hell out of me. She still comes after me to this day. Me and her battle in my dreams and my nightmares. But there was so when you were talking to Aaron and you guys were kind of going over that stuff, one of the things that popped up for me was when I was a kid, I had a dream, and I still remember it, where this is, like I said, if I was a kid and you asked me, do you think you've been abducted by aliens? I'd be like, hell yeah, because this felt so real. I was outside. I was taken outside of the apartment building that we lived in when I was a kid.
Where was this, by the way? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Carroll Stream.
Carroll Stream, yeah. Outside Chicago.
Outside of Chicago. And little alien dude looked like a gnome. So gnomes freak me out because this guy looked like a gnome.
Wow.
Points to the sky, the moon, and he's pointing up to the moon, and the moon had like what's the best way to describe it? It's like, you ever see those scroll, like a scroll?
Yeah.
That
Like here
unravels.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So little guy points to the, mind you, this is in my dream, but it felt so real. He points to the moon. From the moon, there's like this scroll that comes down and goes to my feet. And the feeling I had was they wanted me to go, like, hop on the scroll and get taken up to the moon. And I was like, fuck no. I freaked out and I woke up. So when you were talking about your experiences, like my mind went right back to stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit, what has Heidi experienced that like maybe I experienced, and there's like a mix in there somewhere.
And you were saying it was more of the terror side of things. It wasn't like, ooh, same. So I'm wondering if we just weren't ready then. We weren't ready yet, or maybe they were recruiting you, or
that's a really interesting point, because as I got older, like I said, when we go through the different parts, I talked to people who had these experiences that were not friends of mine. They were like strangers and stuff like that. And they would talk about not necessarily like aliens, but like spirits or energy or vibrations and things like that. And that's what made me think it's something different, but along like the same lines. And then years after that, I started, reading about the whole quantum physics thing and learning about different dimensions. And I'm like, like the world we live in isn't what we think it is, basically. So as a kid, yeah, it was freaky. And maybe, like you said, we're maybe getting tested, recruited, that kind of thing, like Last Starfighter, the movie.
Yeah. Like, are they ready? Are they?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, when you're in these circles where you're talking about the weird shit, the people that get really put off, I know those people weren't part of the Jedi circle, like they weren't the Padawans like me and you were, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I just figure, like, well, they don't understand. Like I've been around this weirdo shit forever, and not because it's been put on me, but my own curiosity has gone out to look for it. Like, and like I said, I think it comes from the Star Wars thing, because you got all these aliens in that universe or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me growing up, like, I wanted to know everything about Bigfoot. I wanted to know everything about the Loch Ness Monster, like whatever, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't like total fantasy for me. There was a piece of it where it's like, what if?
Yeah.
What if that stuff is real?
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. Did you feel isolated in that sense? Like any other children to talk to about it? Or were you just kind of like...
No, and it's interesting that you asked that question, because like this is part of like the little time capsule thing that I wanted to have for my kid. Is growing up, I was born in Mexico, came here when I was 2 years old. So for me, I was already living in two worlds, so to speak. And so like, that's why I think the weird stuff was okay with me, because I'm like, half of me is like in the Hispanic, Spanish, Mexican world, and the other half of me is in like the American, I live in a white neighborhood kind of world. And I never saw it that way as a kid. Like, I had all kinds of friends, but we lived metaphorically on the other side of the tracks, kind of thing. So for me, that was why I didn't open up to a whole lot of people's, because I wasn't part of that group, kind of thing. And the group that I was in, they weren't into the weird shit anyway, so I was kind of stuck in the middle. It's like,
so you still had two things going on. Yeah, two different.
Total like Scorpio vibe. It's a weird thing.
I love it. Did your parents know any of this? Did you ever say, "Hey, I had a weird dream, Ma"? Or
no? When I was a kid, I was quiet. I was super shy.
Same. Yeah.
If you told 10-year-old me that I'd be, in front of a video camera talking like this, it would have been like, wouldn't have even come out of my mouth. I was so shy. I would have just shaken my head.
Oh,
That's how shy I was.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
It's almost empathic. Would you call yourself an empath?
I
As a
wouldn't
child,
have,
especially, would you?
I wouldn't have known any of that stuff when I was a kid. As I was growing up, I got told by other people that, they got that vibe from me. And so I think that's just a part of my nature now. Or it has been, I just didn't know it.
You know it. Or just another thing that I used to just chalk up to being a Scorpio. I'm like, that's pretty similar. Was there anything that happened to you like, well, what happened when did Star Wars, how old were you when Star Wars came out? We're the same age. How old was I? That's probably the middle years, huh? 4?
4 years old, 77.
77.
So it came out in 77. I remember watching it in the theater.
Yeah.
So remember, like, we're talking about, like, what do you remember from 0 to 6 or whatever? I remember watching Star Wars in the theater. I remember being freaked out when Darth Vader came out. I don't remember the middle of the movie. I probably fell asleep. And then I remember the trench run, like that whole thing. So yeah, I was probably like 4, 5, 6 years old. I don't know.
Okay. I wonder when did the connection of the movie to you, like, ooh.
So
for you.
So as a kid, the connection was the toys.
Okay.
Not necessarily like, I didn't know the story. I just thought like Luke Skywalker was cool and Han Solo was cool and Chewbacca was like my favorite character.
Yeah.
And
you're pulling off a good Chewbacca today.
So it was more like the toys.
Yeah.
When I was really young, and as I got older and I started understanding the story from, like, cinematic and all that kind of stuff, that kind of perspective. I actually, when I think it was eighth grade or my freshman year of high school, I rented a book, and it was basically a biography on George Lucas. And in the biography, they went over THX and American Graffiti and all the ups and downs that he went through trying to get like studio deals, and then Star Wars, and how he almost had I don't know if it was a heart attack, but like a physical breakdown from like all the stress of trying to get the movie done. That to me fascinated me. So it was like, as I was growing up, Star Wars gave me different things to look into. So like I said, when I was super young, it was just the toys.
It was the toys, yeah.
And as I got older, I'm like, why do I like these characters? And started to like look into the characters and the creator of the characters and what's his deal, and that's kind of how it went.
So if it kind of shaped, if you put the connection later in life, in your early years, was there anything in particular that molded your perception of life? Or like, would you say, I know you were saying you were all into the Bigfoots and everything. It wasn't a fairy tale to you. It felt like actual dimensions and things. But were you genuinely like a happy kid? I know you were introverted, but
I was introverted. I was happy. I think the thing that molded me growing up was I saw life as two different worlds. Like I said, it was like I had my Mexican world and I had my American world. And even in school, when I was younger, they put us in, me and a couple of my friends, but they put me in ESL classes. It stands for English as a Second Language.
Oh.
And I remember I was probably like 8, 9, 10 years old. I remember asking the teacher, like, why am I in this? Because everybody's speaking Spanish.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I in this class? And she goes, because you're Mexican. I said, so what? And she goes, well, Spanish is your first language. I'm like, no, it's not. English is my first language.
Wow.
And I remember having this conversation with the teacher, and she's like, well, you were born in Mexico, so most people that were born in Mexico don't speak English as good as you do. And I was like, I wasn't born in Mexico. I didn't know at the time.
Oh.
Because I came here when I was 2 years old. So for me, I was like, what are you talking about? I'm an American. And she was like, no, you were born in Mexico. Ask your parents. And I was like, what? So
God, did that trip you out? Were you like,
hell
what did
yeah.
you know?
That's what I'm saying. As a kid, that was like the trippy thing. It's like, so you and I have had these conversations about this, and I think we'll kind of get into it in like when in the older years when we find shit out about like politics and stuff like that. But like way back when I was a kid, I was like, what the hell is going on? Like, I thought I was born here. And then I find out I'm not. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's just like it turns your world upside down. And now like I'm getting put in classes because they're telling me Spanish is my first language. I was like, I speak Spanish at home. Like the rest of the time I'm all English. And so that's the part that was like trippy to me. So like the thing that molded me growing up, I think, is having that experience of like I said, like I live on the other side of the tracks. I don't live where everybody's like got a lot of money. Me and all of my friends are the minorities, that kind of thing. But I'm going to school where it's predominantly white. And I don't like, for me, I don't get into like the politics of all that bullshit, but that's kind of how I grew up. And I'm like, how do I navigate between these two worlds? And I always saw it that way. It was always like, I'm here and I'm there. I'm here and I'm there. And I'm here and I'm there. So
was there a place you felt calmest, or like was your solitude and going into the mind like a place of balance? Because going here, going there, that's a lot of different energies to navigate.
Yeah, and I didn't know about the whole energy thing when I was a kid, but
what did you gravitate to doing? Like, did you like alone time in your room, or
playing with the toys, video games, and I think that's kind of where, like I said, the whole Star Wars thing kind of comes in, because it was imagination. As I got older and I started seeing like, okay, the movie came from a guy who wrote it down and they got together, and it was like they're adults, but they're playing at a different level. Like they're playing a game, not like little action figures. But you know, if you've ever seen like those behind the scenes of ILM, they got their little toys. They're basically grown people playing with kid toys or grown up toys. And so for me, the imagination is how I got away from all that stuff. Like I said, I was quiet. So you put me on the floor with my Star Wars toys, I'm out.
That's cool.
Or a video game or whatever. Yeah.
Very similar. I know we were talking about not having many recalls from those early years. But did you have the moon happen with the scroll in a dream? Anything in real life or any encounters? Did you ever meet anybody that you were like, they're not from this planet? or not putting that together at those years?
Yeah, I didn't have that until later in life. And that's the thing that was interesting when I was hearing your interview with Aaron. I was like, I think in my imagination or in my nightmares or my dreams, I had that on the inside, and I was like, whoa, I don't know if I like that. And I would watch TV shows that talked about that stuff. Like, you know, in my household, my mom watched the novellas, and but my dad was into like the kind of shows that are on the Discovery Channel right now. I can't remember what those shows were called back then, but you know, they're some of those shows dealt with like, well, we watched a lot of nature shows. That was the other thing. It was like, you know, what's that show? Like, it's Nat Geo. They have that on cable. It's National Geographic. Things like that is what I watched when I was younger. Cool. I can't recall if those kind of shows ever talked about the weird stuff. I think maybe I started getting into that later, but yeah, I mean, it was always there, and I was like I said, the curiosity was always pulling me. I never knew anybody that was like weird like that until later in life, and I was like, oh man, you got some powers, you got some freaky powers, you got some powers that I don't want to be around, like that kind of stuff. I started finding those people later in life.
Gosh, that's so fascinating. Yeah, it's so similar.
Yeah, I told you when I watched your interview, I was like, damn.
We knew. Well, our whole group, though, you know, you're special. I think the majority of our little posse from that movie are still in entertainment. Look at Rocco, man. Is it Sony? Is he with Sony or Fox? He's just winning awards.
That's also Jesse too.
And Jesse, yeah, oh, I miss Jesse. And the Walensky brothers, and I mean, we had the whole, and then Jen, but Jen, yeah, some people didn't agree with my 2016 decisions. We should run the country, and I guess that means they don't like my family anymore. So,
Oh
oh well, things can always shift. My heart is still with them. That
yeah.
It's kind of par for the course, considering how all that went with Promise of You. We won't go into that.
There's a lot of drama in that.
There was a lot of drama. It was the shoot that kept shooting. And it was passionate. It was sweet.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what any fun stuff or any well I forgot what I was gonna say because I'm already starting to think of the Promise to You memories. I would love to see it again.
Do you want to do the flippy and do the
Sure,
questions for
a
you?
little. I'll be short and sweet because I'm fascinated with your next journey. I want to hear.
Yeah,
I'll make a banner for it since I know how to do that now. Wait, let me get my contact. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, teenage years.
Got the teenage years.